Bioshock Infinite was one of, if not the most anticipated game of 2013. So, how did it hold up to all that hype? Let's take a look. Bioshock Infinite begins in the floating sky city of Columbia. You, Booker DeWitt, have been tasked with bringing Elizabeth back. The entire theme of the game is bring back the girl and wipe away the dead. While Infinite may not be taking place in the underwater city of Rapture, it does borrow a lot of gameplay elements from its predecessor. Specifically, Vigors are basically plasmids from the original Bioshock, and you'll find a lot of similarities in the way the gun combat plays out as well. However, combat is improved a lot from the original. You can't just simply rely on the same combination of hit somebody and electrify them through the entire game as was often the case in the original Bioshock. In this one, there are a variety of enemies that attack with a variety of methods, often coming at you from close, mid, and far distances. This forces you to really evaluate what's in your inventory and what weapons you have at your disposal, and make sure you're using the optimal combination of vigors and firepower to make sure you take down your enemies. Also mixing up the combat is the Skyway system. Basically, using your skyhook, you can ride the rails and just jump from one floating island in Columbia to the next, often attacking enemies from a great distance, and these entire sequences are always thrilling and they're always a lot of fun to complete. It really does give the entire city of Columbia a far more sprawled out feel than Rapture ever had. Naturally, you would find this because Rapture is kind of claustrophobic by its very nature, but Columbia feels just much bigger on account of the way you can kind of seamlessly travel from one area to the next without seeing a whole lot of load screens. Also, since you are tasked with bringing back the girl, once you finally do come across Elizabeth, she proves to be a huge help and not at all a hindrance as has often been the stereotype in a lot of previous games. Speaking of which, we don't have a silent protagonist this time around. Booker DeWitt has a lot of personality, and not having somebody who's completely silent the entire time really lends a lot to the storytelling value of Bioshock Infinite. The way Elizabeth interacts with DeWitt is consistently memorable and oftentimes hilarious, and it's a lot of fun just to see how these characters grow with each other.
Hello. Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it?
Columbia is a really easy city to get lost in. It is, as mentioned before, technically beautiful and artistically gorgeous to explore. And really, the devil is in the details. In fact, so much of this game has been enjoyable because of so much thought that's gone into the tiny nuances throughout the game. You'll frequently just find characters that are having conversations with each other, and it's kind of very different than the feel that you had from Rapture, where characters were, few and far between. They were often like psychotic in nature on account of being spliced up. But in Columbia, there's just a ton of people walking around having conversations, and there's kind of an awkward feeling of not really knowing, how you're perceived by these characters. It really does add a great level of depth to the environment and makes it more enjoyable to explore on account of it. Of course, for all that beauty that the Columbia seems to exhibit, there's a seedy underbelly to the entire thing that evidences itself pretty quickly in the opening sequence of the game. I'm not going to spoil it here, but you'll know it as soon as it happens because you just can't miss it. From that point on, it's not uncommon to find all kinds of horrible atrocities that have been committed in the name of making sure that Father Comstock's utopia is preserved, and you'll learn more about that as the game progresses, obviously. Along with all that gorgeous eye candy though, the voice work has to be spoken to. The voice acting in this game is nothing short of superb, and all the lines sound natural and in accordance with the time period in which it's placed.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by and by?
The adventure in Bioshock Infinite lasts about 8 to 12 hours depending on the difficulty level at which you play it. And one of the cool things about the game is, while it is a game and obviously a lot of the fun comes from the experience of completing it and getting, progressing the story, you can progress it even faster by playing on a lower difficulty level. But if you are looking for a harder challenge, after you complete the game once, 1999 mode opens up, a much more difficult version of the game. But for the purist who wants to approach it that way immediately, here's a pro tip. If you use the Konami code at the beginning of the game, you can open up that difficulty level immediately. At the end of the day, Bioshock Infinite is the kind of game that pushes the medium forward as a whole. The way it seems unfathomable to find someone who says they just don't like movies or they just don't like music, if you kind of envision that one day we'll get to the place where it would be weird to hear somebody say they don't like video games, this is certainly one of the games that pushes the medium towards that level. Bioshock deserves all of the praise that it gets and all of the perfect scores it's enjoyed, including this one. While there are certainly some pieces that do feel more difficult than others as you play throughout the game, these are really a reflection on your ability to adapt to the game's design and not a deficiency in the design itself. So if you have a chance to play this game, absolutely take advantage of it because it truly is one of the best experiences in video games that there is right now.
So be without you.